She said, "I'm just seeking closure." But her stay at his place told a different story. She looked at me with those eyes, wide, apologetic, pleading. "I'm just seeking closure," she said, her voice trembling just enough to let me know how much this was weighing on her. I tried to ignore the pit in my stomach, tried to focus on what she was saying, but the words didn't match her actions. Not anymore. We were standing in the living room of our apartment, the place that had been ours for the last 2 years. The space felt too small, too crowded now, like I was suffocating, and yet everything around me was perfectly still, frozen in place. The same couch we'd spent countless evenings on, the kitchen where we'd cooked dinners together, the hallway where we'd argued about trivial things and then made up just as quickly. All of it felt like it belonged to someone else. Like I had no right to even stand there. "I need to understand what's going on, Kara," I said, trying to keep my voice steady, trying not to let the frustration rise up like bile in my throat. "You can't just say you're seeking closure and leave it at that. What does that even mean? You can't tell me you're done with us and then go spend the night at his place and expect me to just act like it's fine." Her lips parted as if to respond, but then she hesitated. She always hesitated when it came to the truth lately. That hesitation, that small, almost imperceptible pause, had become the hallmark of every conversation we'd had in the last few months. She told me time and time again that nothing was going on with Jason, that it was just a friendship. But I'd seen the text messages, the way her eyes darted to her phone whenever he called or texted. And then the closure that didn't feel like closure at all. She started, then stopped, biting her lip, her eyes darting to the floor like she couldn't bear to look me in the eye anymore. She had this habit when she was nervous, and it made me sick to my stomach because I knew what it meant. She had always been honest with me before, at least I thought she had been. I trusted her, but now I didn't know what to think. "I don't want to hurt you," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I just need to figure things out. I just need space to think about everything. You don't understand how complicated it is." The knot in my stomach tightened, and I felt the blood rush to my face. I couldn't hold back the anger any longer. "Complicated?" I repeated, my voice rising. "It's not complicated, Kara. You've been spending time with him, haven't you? Don't lie to me." Her eyes filled with guilt, and for a second, I thought she might tell me the truth. But then she took a deep breath and gave me a shaky smile, the kind she used when she was trying to convince herself of something. "It's not what you think," she said, holding up a hand like she was trying to stop me from interrupting. "It's not like that at all. I don't know. I'm confused. I need time, okay?" I stared at her, trying to process her words, but it was like the more she spoke, the less sense anything made. Confused? What did that even mean? You don't get to play the confused card when you've been sneaking around behind my back. You don't get to tell me that you need space to figure things out while you're sleeping over at his place. And then it hit me, her stay at his place. The memories of last weekend flooded back. I'd asked her where she was going, and she'd said she was meeting up with some friends, but when I checked her location later that night, I saw that she was at Jason's apartment. Why didn't I confront her sooner? The thought made me dizzy. I felt like I was losing my grip on reality, like I didn't know who she was anymore. The person I loved, the person I thought I knew, was standing there telling me that everything was fine, that she was just seeking closure, when in my gut, I knew I was being lied to. She stepped forward, as if to close the space between us, but I took a step back, shaking my head. I couldn't bear it anymore. "You can't just tell me you're seeking closure and expect everything to be okay," I said, my voice cracking. "You can't just walk out of this relationship without even trying to fix it. If you really cared about me, you wouldn't be staying with him. You wouldn't be lying about it. You wouldn't run away from us." She didn't say anything at first, and for a moment, I thought she was going to argue. But then she dropped her gaze to the floor again, and her voice was barely audible when she spoke. "I don't know what else to say, Chris. I'm sorry." "Sorry?" "Sorry didn't even begin to cover it." I felt a wave of coldness wash over me, and for a split second, I considered walking out, ending it right there. But I couldn't move. I didn't know what I was supposed to feel or think. We had been together for 3 years. 3 years of laughter, trust, shared memories, and promises of a future we were supposed to build together. Or at least that's how I'd seen it. Now, with her standing there in front of me, I wondered how much of it had been real. If she was really seeking closure, why hadn't she come to me first? Why had she gone to Jason? And if this was closure, why did it feel like the beginning of something else? I thought back to the last few months. She'd been distant, distracted. I chalked it up to work stress, or maybe we were just going through a rough patch. We'd stop going on dates like we used to, stop being as affectionate. But I always thought it was temporary. I thought we'd get back on track. That was until the night I found the text messages. Not just one or two. There were dozens. They were flirtatious, intimate, full of inside jokes and references that made me sick to my stomach. I wanted to confront her then, but I didn't. I didn't want to believe it. I didn't want to admit that the woman I loved might be falling for someone else. But this was undeniable. She had stayed at his place. She had lied to me again and again. And now she was standing there, telling me that she needed closure when, from where I stood, it was already over. She'd made her choice. I knew I couldn't keep pretending like everything was fine. Kara had been my world for so long, and even now, with the truth in front of me, it was hard to accept that it was really over, that she didn't want me the way she used to. I wasn't sure what I wanted anymore. Part of me wanted to beg her to come back, to somehow make things right, but I knew that would be a mistake. The other part of me, the part that had been hurt, was already grieving. I had to let go of the idea of us. It wasn't just about her staying with Jason anymore. It was about everything that had led up to this moment. "Do you love him?" I asked quietly, my voice barely above a whisper. She hesitated. The pause was longer than I could bear. Finally, she looked up at me, her eyes filled with so much sadness that it almost felt like a betrayal in itself. "I don't know," she said, her voice barely audible. "I don't know anymore, Chris. I'm lost. Lost." That was the word she chose. And in that moment, I realized something. She wasn't lost because of me. She wasn't lost because of us. She was lost because she had already made her choice. And as much as I hated it, I couldn't hold on to something that wasn't mine anymore. "I think it's time for us to let go," I said, my voice steady but heavy. "For both of us." She didn't protest. She didn't beg me to stay. Instead, she nodded, the tears finally spilling over. And that was the last time I saw Kara. Now, weeks later, I still don't know what to think or feel. I've been through the motions, sorting through my stuff, living in this apartment that no longer feels like home, talking to friends who have tried to reassure me that I'll be okay. But I don't know if I'll ever feel okay again. Part of me wonders if I should reach out to her, if I should try to get closure on my end. But the more I think about it, the more I realize that what we had is gone, and I can't keep looking for answers that will never come. Maybe closure doesn't exist. Maybe it's just another word we use to justify the things we do when we're too scared to face the truth. All I know is this. I have to keep moving forward, even if I don't know where that leads me. Because right now, moving forward is all I can do. Part 2. The days after Kara left were a blur of exhaustion and disbelief. I went through the motions, waking up late, eating cereal with no taste, staring at the walls when I should have been doing something, anything. It felt like I was drowning in silence. Our apartment was empty without her, but it felt like she had already left long before she packed her things. It wasn't just her absence, though. It was the weight of everything she had hidden from me. All the lies, all the moments I'd ignored or dismissed, thinking they were just phases, just temporary. And now, here I was picking up the shattered pieces of a life I thought we had. I kept thinking about what she had said, her voice trembling when she mentioned seeking closure, and how much that phrase kept echoing in my mind. It didn't make sense. If she wanted closure, why had she been spending all this time with Jason? Why hadn't she come to me, talked to me, instead of running off to him? I wasn't an idiot. I knew what was happening. I'd seen the messages. I'd seen the way she looked at him when she talked about him. And that night, her staying over at his place, was the final straw. I could still feel the sick twist in my stomach when I saw her location pop up on my phone. I should have confronted her then, but part of me still clung to this fantasy that she might wake up and realize what she was throwing away. I kept thinking that if I gave her enough time, she'd come to her senses, that maybe this was just some weird phase she was going through. I didn't want to face the truth. I didn't want to admit that the woman I loved might be slipping away from me. But the truth couldn't be ignored anymore. Kara wasn't coming back. She had already made her decision. I spent a lot of time thinking about our relationship, the good and the bad, try to figure out where things had gone wrong. When had she started pulling away? When had I become so blind to the signs? I couldn't pinpoint a moment, a single event that caused a shift. It was like the cracks had appeared slowly, almost imperceptibly, until the whole foundation collapsed. I kept asking myself why. Why Jason? Why not me? But in the end, I knew it didn't matter. It wasn't about why anymore. It was about what had happened. I didn't know what to do with myself. We had built this life together, and now it felt like a stranger's life. I spent hours sorting through her stuff, papers, books, clothes, just trying to keep my mind occupied. I found one of the photos we had taken on a trip to the coast. We had been so happy, smiling like we had the whole world ahead of us. I stared at the photo for too long, my chest tightening with the weight of what we had lost. I should have been angry, furious, even, but all I could feel was a numbness that settled deep in my bones. I had been replaced. The love I thought we had wasn't enough. I wasn't enough. And the worst part was that I didn't even know how to feel about it. Anger wasn't the first emotion that hit me. It was sadness. The kind that comes when you realize someone you trusted, someone you thought you'd spend your life with, had been slipping away from you for so long, and you didn't even see it. The days turned into weeks, and Kara didn't reach out. She didn't try to fix things, didn't ask about the apartment or my things. She was gone just like that. She hadn't even tried to explain herself. She was done. And that realization was like a punch to the gut every time I woke up in the morning. I couldn't hide from it anymore. I had to get my life back, even if I wasn't sure what that looked like. I had to move forward, had to stop dwelling in the past, even though every fiber of my being just wanted to curl up in the corner and shut the world out. It was late one afternoon when I decided to call her. I don't know what I expected. Maybe some grand revelation, some explanation that would make everything clear again. Maybe I was hoping she would say that she missed me, that she regretted everything. Maybe I was just desperate for closure, too. I wasn't ready to forgive her, not by a long shot, but I needed to hear it from her, to hear her say that she had made her choice and that it was over. I needed that finality. I dialed her number, my fingers shaking slightly. It rang 3 times before she picked up. Hello? Her voice sounded distant, like she was waiting for me to say something. Kara, I started my throat dry. I didn't know what I was going to say. It's me. I just need to talk. There was a long pause. I could hear her breathing, and it was like she was trying to prepare herself for something. What do you want to talk about? She asked, her tone neutral but guarded. I don't know, I admitted. I guess I need to understand something. What happened, Kara? Why Jason? What happened to us? I don't know, Chris, she replied quietly. I wish I had an answer for you. I really do. But it wasn't just about him. It wasn't just about what I feel for him. It's about me, too. I've been lost. I've been confused about everything. About myself. About what I want. About where I'm going. I don't know how to explain it. The words stung, but I needed to hear them. I needed to hear her own confusion. Her own mess, even if it didn't help. I couldn't expect to fix it all in a phone call. Not now. Not after everything. I didn't want to hurt you, she said, and I could hear the tears in her voice, even though she was trying to hold them back. But I can't keep pretending. I can't keep pretending I'm someone I'm not. And I've been trying to figure that out by myself. I don't know if I'll ever be able to give you the answers you need, Chris. I don't know if you'll ever forgive me. But I hope you can understand why I did what I did. Her words hung in the air, the space between us thick with the weight of everything that had happened. There was nothing I could say to make it better. There was no magic fix, no way to undo what had been done. I had already heard everything I needed to hear. And the more I listened to her, the more I realized that I had been holding on to something that wasn't there anymore. That she was never going to be the person I needed her to be. I don't know if I can forgive you, Kara, I said finally, the words feeling like a weight lifted from my chest. But I'll be okay. I will be. I need to be okay. I understand, she whispered, and there was so much pain in her voice that I almost didn't want to hear it. But it was there. and so was I. We ended the call with a quiet goodbye, and I didn't call her back. I didn't need to. A week later, I packed up the rest of her things. It felt strange, holding on to the things that used to matter. Her favorite mug, the books we read together, the framed picture of us on our first vacation. It was hard to let go of those little things that had once symbolized our life, but I knew I couldn't keep them. They didn't belong to me anymore. I dropped her things off at her friend's place, a neutral spot where we didn't have to talk. I knew she wouldn't be there. She didn't need to be. I was done trying to piece things back together that couldn't be fixed. I had learned that the hard way. And so, here I am now, moving forward day by day, not without the scars of what we had, but with the understanding that I deserve more. I deserve someone who isn't just seeking closure, but someone who is ready to build something real. It's not easy. It never is. But I'll get there, one day at a time.